If there is a radical in the denominator, you first need to check if it is a perfect square, and if it is a perfect square, you can simplify the expression. So in the first one, denominator is square root of 4. The square root of 4 we know really is 2. So it becomes 6 square root of 11 over 2. And I can simplify it because 6 divided by 2 would give me 3 square root of 11. Now if it is not a perfect square, you need to simplify the radical and then rationalize the denominator. In order to do so, you have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same radical expression. So in this case, if I want to rationalize that denominator, I have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by whatever the denominator is, or that's square root of 3. Now if I do that, square root of 7 times the square root of 3 becomes the square root of 21, and square root of 3 times square root of 3 will give us a square root of 9, which is really just 3. So it becomes square root of 21 over 3. Now, that square root of 21 can't simplify any further, so this would be my final answer. In the first example I have here, I would have to rationalize that denominator. So I'd multiply the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 5 to give me 2 square root of 5, and square root of 5 times square root of 5 would give you just 5. So that would be your final answer. Pause the video and try the one on the bottom on your own. For this example, I'd have to rationalize the denominator again. So I'm going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 3 to give me 3 square root of 3, and the denominator 3 times 3 gives me square root of 9, which we know is just 3. Now notice that we have a 3 in the numerator and the denominator, and we can simplify that because 3 divided by 3 would give us just 1. So since those 3's will cancel out, it'll give me that my final answer is the square root of 3. Pause the video and try the first example on your own. In the first example, we have to rationalize the denominator. So it's multiply the numerator and denominator by the square root of 5. So 15 times 5 would give us the square root of 75, and root 5 times root 5 will give us 5. Now if I simplify that square root of 75, we know the biggest perfect square it divides is 25. So it becomes 25 times 3 over 5, the square root of 25 times the square root of 3 over 5. And if I finish simplifying that, you would get square root of 25 is 5 square root of 3 over 5. Now again, we talked about how you don't necessarily need to show both of these steps at this point, and that's fine. But once we get to here, the 5 is divided by 5, and those would cancel out. So your final answer should be square root of 3. Pause the video and try the one at the bottom on your own. If I were to simplify this final radical, I'd have to multiply both the numerator and denominator by whatever was the square root on the bottom. So I multiply the square root of 5 times both, so it'll give me 5 square root of 15 over 3 times, and root 5 times root 5 is going to give us 5. Now if I multiply that out, I'll get 5 square root of 15 over 3 times 5 is 15. Now at this point, I can't simplify that 15 with the 15 under the radical because they're separated by that radical. However, I can simplify the 5 over 15 to be 1 over 3. So it'll become square root of 15 over 3. And that would be your final answer. Now that you've finished this video, finish up your note sheet and you should start working on the quizzes activity on Google Classroom.